Hello, and welcome to New World Aeternum Weekly, episode 18 for the date of February 13th, I think. Yeah, February 13th. I am your host, Kai Zen, and I am here enjoying a dragon's milk. Let's get this started. With me today, we've got WOLFDRAGON. Say hello to the beautiful people, Wolf, and tell them what you're drinking.
Hello, everyone. It is a little early in my waking up hours, so I've got a monster. Probably swap over to one of these cream ales I got though, because they are delicious.
Hell yeah. And we also have ARKHAVEN. Say hello to the people. Tell them what you're drinking.
What up? I am drinking also a lovely dragon's milk, preparing to game and potentially watch the Super Bowl together.
Right on. All right, so let's get right to it. There's a lot to talk about. We took last week off because we were running dungeons, doing a little Lazarus and whatnot. And we sort of put together a static group that was running stuff. So we played hooky and ran stuff. So let's get right to it. There's a lot going on right now in New World. Just in this last week, the remaining servers that had not been merged into got merged into, including ours. We had several servers that joined us, so they merged into our server on Pluto. There's lots and lots of changes going on in the PTR. We've had now 2 weeks of different PTR build notes, that have come into effect with lots and lots of fixes, changes, balance issues, all kinds of stuff. Some changes from week 2, from week 1, where they suggested some things in week 1 that the community had some feels on and sort of, expressed their concerns or wishes, and that the company made some changes on. So let's dig into all of that. Wolf, what do you want to dig into first?
I think the changes, because I've been playing a little bit of catch up, and I know that there's some really interesting things in there that I find of note, and some other stuff that, as we talk about it, I'll understand more, because it's kind of hard to follow just the breadth of all the changes that they made. They've been knocking them out of the park. Like, something needs fixing, they fix it.
Yep, they've been changing a whole lot of stuff. All right, well, let's jump into that. So obviously February, as they said, is the month of balance, bugs, and bots. They're looking to fix things, and sort of, it's not new content per se, but it's quality of life improvements and fixes to a whole bunch of issues. Why don't we run through and pick some of the changes and the things that we find to be sort of important? We'll go sort of round robin on this. I think, honestly, the biggest thing that I see is a overall loosening up of the gating of umbrals. So they've added umbrals to OPR, Outpost Rush. So if you're on the winning team, you'll get 100 umbrals. If you're on the losing team, you will get 50 umbrals. But either way, you're going to get umbrals so long as you do enough, credit in the fight to sort of score onto that, to get the minimum requirement sort of contribution. And they've greatly changed how those contributions go, but I'll leave that to Ark to go through. In addition to that, though, they have increased the amount of umbrals you get when you open a gypsum cast greatly, like massively. It was that you would get anywhere from like 3 to 20. Now it's 100 to 400. It's massive. In addition to that, they've increased the umbrals that you get as a crafter when you craft a thing that fits within the sort of guidelines. So when you add in the fact that you can now do, 6 or 7 a day gypsum with a minimum of 100 each, and that's presuming that you're doing it on an item that's 600 gear score only. Plus the fact that you can do, if you do 3 or 4 outpost rush and let's say you win half of them, that puts you at 200 for the wins and 100 for the losses, 300. You can get, conceivably, if you were to grind at it a good bit, do all the gypsums and a 50% win rate on 4 outpost rush matches, you could get damn near 1,000 umbrals in a day just doing that. So to me, I was not a fan of the watermark system. I felt like there was only one thing you could do to effectively really get it, and that was join those stupid mindless zergs, and that was not cool. I was more of a fan of the gypsum system, where it's like, okay, you're now offering different ways people can do things to get these improvements, but it's still sort of very intensive. And the only people that I think really got it hard, like that really went into it and got everything out of it on a daily basis, were those people that were willing to invest a lot of time and effort into it. This umbral system, I'm even more of a fan of, because it's like, okay, now they're actually incentivizing people to run things together, to play as a group and do these dungeons, which is, it's cool new content, it's interesting. And then the changes they're making to these umbrals, I feel like every step of the way, from the watermark to gypsum to umbrals to these changes in umbrals, every step of the way it's got less grindy, less gatey, less like, oh, you have to no life this shit, and more like a thing that people in general can do. And so that's the biggest of all of this stuff. That is, to me, the biggest plus that I absolutely love. Let's get feedback from Ark and then Wolf on everything that I just said on this. Go for it, Ark.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that everybody can agree upon, right, is that the end game is too prolonged. Everybody wants to get to end game because you want to be able to start, when you get that good roll on that spear or whatever you're looking for in this dungeon, your expedition, you want it to be the right gear score. So the expertise has been a pain in that matter, making us, have to just continually prolong the end game, which is probably by design since there's not a whole lot of stuff to do at end game currently. But if nothing else, they have shown a willingness to listen and continually make that grind a lot better. And like, this is going to do that in spades. Not just is it making the PvE piece better by lessening the time rate on a topaz gypsum or on a named boss gypsum, but it's also now adding the PvP player an opportunity to just play PvP if they want to. Be a little slower, but just from playing PvP now they can start to get faction tokens where you can buy a gypsum. You can get your 2 outpost gypsums and shards and so forth. So I think they're listening. I think they're doing the right things, in enabling more ways to gain gypsum and how to do it faster. Because one of the things that's interesting is, and I think it's true, I was listening to New World to Go, and they hit it on the head. They said, look, I feel like too many players are coming in, and it's like a job. They feel like they got to do. It takes a whole gaming session, 2-3 hours, to just get the 4 or 5 gypsum that's available to them. That you don't have to like get in a massive group for or something, and that's problematic because they're not doing anything else. So this should help broaden the kind of things that people can do. It should bring Outpost Rush back to life, which, as you all know, is dead. It's ridiculously hard to get in there right now, and get us all up the end game in a more sort of expedient manner, which is a good thing.
Wolf.
I like the change for the umbrals to give you more. I still think that it's worth a pass at making it not so ridiculously expensive on the umbrals to bring something that's a lower level up. Cause whereas I'm having a lot of fun running dungeons and whatnot with you guys, like I'm probably gonna be finding little bits and bobs of gear here and there. It's like, well, I'd really like to up the score on some of these things so that I can do the mutators and not get completely shafted by the gear score requirements and whatnot, and being able to just get a bunch of these umbrals. So it's like, look, I know that this one thing isn't best in slot, but it's the best for what I've got right now. Throw the umbrals at it, bring it up in the points, and then I can run the higher level stuff for the end game with you guys and not be stuck behind doing the vanilla flavor of dungeons or farming a particular boss, for hours and hours and hours on end that I don't have.
Mm.
So that I can take something that's okay for now, make it good enough, and then while in the mutators with the better loot tables and whatnot, maybe find that thing that I've been looking for with all these different runs through Lazarus and Genesis that we've been doing.
Mm.
So it's still a little that's expensive, but hey, at least they make them more available. So I mean,
Well,
I guess that kind of balances.
yeah, while it is a little more expensive, you're absolutely right with the fact that you can get, hundreds of day through gypsums alone, much less through Outpost Rush. I think that does go a good way towards sort of lessening that problem, you know?
Hmm.
Okay. Why don't we hop to Ark? Why don't you take the changes to Outpost Rush? I know that that's something that's near and dear to you.
Yeah, man, I don't think I've ever been as stoked to just to play Outpost Rush. From a marketing perspective, right? If you want someone to play something, you have to or do something or buy something or spend time somewhere. You have to add value, right?
Mm.
That's what draws people to doing something, and all the value currently, which we are also guilty of it, is in the dungeons, right? It's in the expeditions because that's where we're getting our biggest expertise pushes. Um, but now that they're opening up, which is just from the rewards part, faction tokens, shards, um, weapon and gear drops, and they're taking away PvE bonuses like the banes that don't make any sense in PvP, and adding what we believe to be things like resistance and keen and things like that, and increasing the kind of drops that you get, that you can get some better weapons, you get some better, like they're going to try to up the ante on expertise drops in there. Now you've really added a ton of value just to play that game, um, and and which is great. That's just the bonuses, right? Just all the rewards, the things, the value added to go there. But the next things, right? Like some of the most broken parts of this game have been, trying to get off a rotation that requires you, for example, to swap weapons. And most of them do, right? Most of them have, you take a great axe and a hammer, you take, a rapier and a bow, or a rapier and anything else, whatever. Each typically one weapon sets up some sort of stun, and the other weapon sets up some sort of burst. If you can't swap your weapon to execute that, then what the hell? You might as well not even do it. You might as well not even play the game. So tweaks to weapon swapping, the added value to Outpost Rush for the win. All these things are huge, and I can't wait to get back in Outpost and really start to kind of like make that once again part of my daily rhythm that isn't just painful. I mean, you know how all of us, I mean, you Sin, like everybody, it's just been painful for us to get that one or two runs in a day. You guys too. Sometimes I can't even do two. Sometimes I just do one. But I think that's going to be a change if, and I'm sure you're going to get in this at some point, if they can fix the performance. They got to be able to fix the performances, beyond just weapon swapping. Otherwise, none of it matters.
All right. Yeah, and I mean, there's also really good changes to how they're doing the scoring, such that they're taking away a lot of the score that you get, the contribution points that you get towards your 500 from the kill of either a PVE mob or a PvP opponent, and they're greatly to because they're shifting the balance away from just getting the down, like dropping the guy and hitting the skull, and they're putting it much towards like just the damage that you're doing consistently in the fight. So there's lots of times where some of us will run in there, especially melee guys will run in, and you're fighting. You take a guy, you down him, and then some guy from behind you, just plinks in with a little musket or an arrow with the one shot, and like boop, they get the credit for the kill, and you're kind of screwed. So I think that this will be much better overall towards making people get sort of proper credit for the contribution. I think hopefully if you take that and you add it to the added incentive for, double the umbrals on a win, hopefully we end up with a lot more meaningful PvP, because that's what Outpost Rush is meant to be, and a lot less of just, sort of people going out, getting enough of their points to do the whatever, and then just kind of screwing off and being like, oh, well, whatever, I'm done. Because,
Yeah, good.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, good call. I totally, there's so much to talk about, right? So like some things slip my mind, but you're
No.
absolutely right. The you start allowing damage, right? Damage is going to be a multiplier for score points, and because right now the big thing is heals, right? So everybody rolls in some heals. Even if you don't even have a fully spec healer, you can go in there, you'll get the top 10. You now put that damage out there. Now what you're doing is you're promoting those PvP range, those tanks, those like everybody from any kind of damage sort of component. Because I'll often hit 400,000, 500,000 damage, and if I don't have that secondary kill, as you say, like the actual kill shot, if I don't have a few of those, it doesn't matter. So you're yeah, and they're lessening the points that you get for NPC kills, for example. So I think it is going to promote folks to go at it, slug it out, get in there, don't avoid one another. And then other things too, Kai, they're buffing up some of the I don't want to say siege weapons, but like
The
the
repeater.
ballistas. Yeah. So that's cool too, right? So hopefully you start to see, and we said that at one of the earlier shows, where they really need to get those things incorporated, get more damage, make them less sort of materials and necessary to build them, and really make those forts come to life. Where you really have to consider, all right, how am I going to approach this place versus just the Zerg train that just runs straight into sun. Pretty hard to do a Zerg train when you've got a powerful ash repeater hit there, laying fire down on it. It's good. Should spread out the people, should make things more tactical. I'm stoked, man. I can't think that. I want it to happen now.
Right on. So let's hop over to Wolf. We've covered the changes in umbrals. We've covered sort of the changes to Outpost Rush. What else are you interested or excited by from patch notes, from the stuff that's going on in the PTR? Are you sort of more into the whole cleaning up the weapon swapping and the dodge and making those hopefully a lot less clunky? Are you more interested in sort of some of the changes that they're making with regard to some of the weapons, like doing little balance changes with regard to them? Or are you more into, say, some of the ongoing sort of changes that they've talked about that we don't have details on yet, but that they're doing more and more stuff to try to go after botters and try to go after, they're changing, like, hey man, you can only hand money face to face now. You can't, mail people money, which I think sort of maybe adds an extra hoop, like whatever, all the changes they're going to try to deal with that stuff. Or and this is a huge one. I can't believe it skipped my mind until we just got to this point. Are you super excited by the fact that travel is going to basically be almost free? It's 20 Azoth to teleport anywhere, no matter where you are or what weight you've got on you. And they are massively reducing. It used to be the highest house rent per month, or per week rather, every week was 20%. And then in January, they lowered it, in January, after the Christmas break, when they brought back the taxes, because they had given people sort of a Christmas break. They brought it back up to 10%. Now they're changing, because right now your taxes are between 5 to 10%. Come when this PTR change hits, the way it looks now, it's going to be, your taxes are going to be from 0.1% to a maximum of 1%. So basically, travel and house taxes are now free. What go for it.
I was gonna focus more on a couple of the quality of life changes. The fast travel, definitely an awesome thing, and I think they're probably looking at doing that now, such that they say we're gonna get mounts, and obviously mounts are gonna be able to be used to run from one place to another. Curious to know if I can just spend 20 Azoth, blah blah blah, like what the mount's gonna do, so that kind of muddies the waters there. But from a quality of life perspective, we for the longest time everyone was hurting on Azoth, and then they made the Azoth vials drop much more frequently. Um, I've offloaded a bunch of those because now I'm just not gonna have to worry about that so much. Um, Definitely some of the anti-botting stuff that they've been doing, but of course that's the never-ending arms race. You fix one thing, they find another way, blah blah blah. Face to face with the gold, yeah, that maybe that's a easier thing for them to track, to find real currency for gold selling, whatnot. And we don't need to get into how bad that is and why that's a problem. But maybe it makes them easier to find it, and then to
Or just as
take
a
care of
deterrent,
that
makes it
accordingly.
harder. Maybe it's just one extra hoop, which makes people less likely to do it.
That's possible.
I mean, half of it is catching the people from doing stuff, but the other half of it is just preventing them from doing it.
Yeah. I do. I like. I like lots of the little quality of life changes. It's like we're talking about how they're trying to reinvigorate OPR and making lots more parts of the game more meaningful. But as a much more casual player, like being able to hop around and go hunting around for the resources that I want to go and grab today to work on a specific thing, or work towards making an item, and handing stuff off to you until I can get my own crafting and that ability up to do it myself, like that that helps everyone out, because it also shows that, hey, we're not only are we concerned and putting effort on making the end game better, but we're trying to make everything else about the game, the underpinnings of everything going on for the economy and everyone's progression and whatever they want to do, better. So I'm hearing all good news, and I like it a lot.
So there is one other aspect that I kind of left out because I wanted to sort of deal with the positive stuff. And one other thing before we move on from that I want to hit, I want to make sure that we hit is, they're also making it to where all of the quests that are level 10 plus are going to give 150% experience. So basically, the leveling process, if you remember when we did the leveling process when it first came out, there were a couple lulls there in, one in the mid 20s, much larger one in sort of the mid 40s, and then a last one that was in the 50 to 58 to 60 range. There's some lulls there where you had to, lean on the market board. You had to, or sorry, the town boards. You had to, do side quests. You had to do whatever. They are sort of speeding that process along, and I think that that's intended to give people more the opportunity for, like, the new people coming in to catch up and to join in with us. So basically, what I'm seeing as a theme on the whole quality of life thing is, let's just make the experience easier and less grindy. Let's make the umbrals less grindy. Let's make the gypsums less grindy. You can, get them faster, and you get an extra one that you can now buy from your faction guy. Let's make travel less grindy. You don't have to farm up a bunch of Azoth to move around. Let's make leveling experience less grindy. It's just, all of it is like, let's just make it a little more casual player friendly. I'm going to put aside my other thought that I was going to get to with regard to the house tax thing just for a moment. I want to go around again from you guys and get any comments you have on that whole concept of I think the general theme here is let's just make it a little bit easier for the casuals, you know?
Hmm.
Okay.
I really like that because that's it. That's how I like to play. Like I love joining up with you guys and running dungeons, getting my gear score up and stuff. But I love just looking around at the pretty, and the only way you do that is to play casually and just go around and do stuff.
Right on. Right on.
I know we got a couple guys in the group that are just like, yeah, I don't have that much time to play and whatnot. So bringing more XP to them for the stuff that they do, so that they can get up to the top. Like it's all good. Like I can't. I know there's that one negative that you want to talk about. But there's so much good to talk about in this game.
Right on. So let's get to the other thing. The one thing that's interesting with the house is while they're lowering the tax rate from 0.1% to 1% maximum, which let's be honest, I think everyone, every town, every company in the game that owns a town is basically just going to set the tax to 1%. Amazon is going to sort of do what a lesser version of what they did over the Christmas break. Instead of making it like multiplied by 10, they're going to multiply it by 5. So if you pay, say right now, let's say as under the current rate, it's at 5% and you pay 5,000. No, nobody does. Even with a mansion, I pay like 1,500. So you pay 1,500. So now it's going to be 1/5 that. So my rent is going to be 300. Amazon is going to take that 300 and they're going to multiply it by 5. So back to 1,500. And even though they only take 300 from me, they're going to give the owner of the town 1,500. Now, if what we're talking about is Morningdale or Ebonscale or First Light, I think that's okay. That's not really an issue. If what we're talking about is Everfall and Windsward, I think that still ends up sort of feeding into a perpetual system of haves and have-nots. You end up with a few companies that are very sort of powerful, that if they hold those locations for a long period of time, end up sort of imbalancing, continuing to imbalance, the markets or the economy of the server. And they're going to need somebody smarter than me because I don't have an answer on how to fix that per se, but like I feel like there needs to be looked at some system where on most of the servers, you have this 1%, you have this small group where it's like, we own Everfall and Windsward, and they're just richer than God. And everyone else, whether you're talking about smaller companies that don't own a town, or whether you're talking about companies, there are some companies where it's like, yeah, we owned, Brightwood for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. You get it, you lose it, but those guys aren't ever generating enough income other than Windsward and Everfall. They're not generating enough income that they get to sort of be ahead. The ones that are ahead, it's a weird situation where just the rich keep getting richer and richer. It's this weird thing where you see like, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates pay 0% tax somehow or whatever. It's like those people that are able to get ahead just get farther and farther ahead while everybody else kind of gets squeezed. And I could be the only, like, maybe I'm here expressing this opinion and you guys are all like, I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. But I feel that it would behoove Amazon to take some look somehow, some way into changing how they address companies and how they sort of keep companies sort of hopefully on some kind of an even footing. I don't know if that's, hey man, we take all of the income from all of the towns that are owned by, Marauders, and all of the income from all the towns owned by Covenant, and all the towns owned by the other ones, and we sort of like spread it among multiple companies or among the people that are running influence, or I don't know how, but it seems to me like that's a thing that they should look at. It doesn't have to be a thing they look at today, but for the long-term health of the game, that seems to me like an important thing that they sort of figure out some way to address the imbalance.
Well,
Go
the
ahead.
other thing you get with that is, recently on Pluto we had the implosion of the giant company in green that owned, controlled, and kind of iron fisted. No, you're gonna fight here. This is gonna be who's doing what, blah blah blah, and locked everything down. And then all their whole A tier for holding the cities and doing the wars and everything just evaporated. And then because of how they were treating everybody who wasn't in their group, it's everything's kind of fallen apart. And with the influx of people, I'm sure that's going to help with all the server merge over to here to rebalance, and maybe some more individual groups, like this one's going to control this place, this one just wants to control this place, kind of things. That there's not a giant mega company again.
But on most
But
servers,
it's
that's
that
what you
mega,
have. Most servers have
but
a
it's
mega
that mega
company.
company thing that
Yeah.
makes it so that they're the haves, and everybody else, it doesn't matter what company you're in, if you're not in with them, you are a have not, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's the thing they need to fix. And yeah, I have no good
But
method
you
for
agree
that.
that it's a thing that needs to be somehow addressed.
Absolutely.
Ark,
Absolutely.
what are your thoughts on this, Ark?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm with you in terms of like I'm not the right dude to try to figure out how to do this thing. I mean, we talked this, over and over again on how to on that. I certainly agree that that they have to find a way um to spread the wealth just a little bit, to have, a perfect example is me, right? I mean, I'm a PvP player at the core. I mean, I'm probably the main PvP dude in our group, and what we do. I mean, we mainly do small group content for the most part. But like, I've never played a game and invested this much time into a game, and I have yet to even experience the content that I actually want to play in the first place. And it makes me have to like reach out and try to find some company that has, because you're never going to get invited into one of these companies' things if you're an outsider. Really, you're never going to be on the inside. So beyond the company just making money and profit, they also have a lock on some of the end game content that you just can't get into. So they have to figure out both those things, right? Part of it's is an economic issue, and then and the other part's just a again, no different than, worse than the keys to the dungeons. It's a lock to end game content that people just want to play and see, and you just can't get there. So I think, we talked about this before. There's there's so much cool open world terrain on the map right now. I don't know why you couldn't create like a core company that maybe wins a town, but you know, they have like a hierarchical setup where, you have to have seven other companies, like in contract. This, Wolf, like in the contracting world, some big company comes on. Well, the government doesn't just buy that, let that one company own most of it. They say you have to bring in, five of these small A companies or whatever else. That should be how it is. Like, you have to come into the company and you have to bring in X amount of other companies. Of course, they're going to find ways to dupe that, right? Because they're just going to, just like we see two major companies now, House of whatever, House of V, House of V2, House of V3. But if maybe the company can only have X amount of people in it or something like that, and then maybe when you fight, you have a large scale front where it's 50 on 50 happening, at the fort, and then some of these beautiful terrain locations, you have, maybe it's some PvE content, and you're destroying some some supply type stuff coming there. Maybe it's some small scale PvP with companies 10 on 10 or something like that, or 5 on 5. It's happening somewhere else. And whoever wins that, it like degrades the main company's something. Who knows? But they have to figure out a way to let more people play the game.
Hmm?
But real quick, back to the one thing that before we bridge into this talk, you were talking about, Wolf. You were talking about being able to, being a, just a casual player to come in. What MMO and have you seen that, like this game, where you can have a kind of Kaizen-like character who has all the stuffs, right? And then he can run with a brand new Jack, casual player who has not much of the stuffs. And you both can go do an event where you both have an opportunity to gain. Every time I've ever boosted a friend in old MMOs, it was me just boosting them, and like I get nothing out of that other than trying to help my buddy out. This game allows you to like boost a buddy and have opportunities to get that next big gain that you want, and that's a really good model, and I think they're just edging more towards that in this new update.
The only one that comes to my mind that did it in a way that was really good, because like there's nothing stopping us right now from teaming up with, say, a level 20 or a level 35 friend of ours. What stops us is that, as the high level, we can go to the low level area. Yeah, we'll get, whatever stuff, but it doesn't really pay out. And we can't take them with us into a higher level area. And I'm talking strictly open world, because, there are the level requirements and whatnot for dungeons and the special event kind of things. Back in the day when I played City of Heroes and City of Villains, there was and I'm going to get the name of it wrong, but basically it was an apprentice or a lackey kind of system where it's like, here's 4 people who are going to go do this thing, and they got a buddy who is, just started the game or low level. It's like, all right, you want to see what's really cool about this game? Come with us. They come into the group, and they're level 20, and we're level 60. They effectively become a level 60, just by amplifying everything they have now. They don't get any of the new traits or abilities or anything like that. But what it does is it makes them a lot less squishy.
Yeah, it's like level
That
scaling.
would make being able to grab a friend who's low and helping them out with stuff and making things super effective happen. And then once they're out of the group, they can go back and work on, the other stuff they want to do for the storyline and things like that. And it doesn't affect that, other than they just got a huge buff to what their level is, because they spent several hours with us doing things. I think that would go a long way to help out with making it easier for new players to come in and do stuff with their friends.
So I want to address one other thing with the sort of that is concerning to me with regard to the sort of power imbalance or whatever between certain companies and others in the game. So just today, I made a couple of pieces of high-level gear for friends that I crafted for Cinnamon and for Sword. I've crafted a couple pieces. Now, to give you an idea, when it comes to Armorer, I have max level armoring. I've leveled it all the way up. That was a massive grind. In addition to that, I have every piece of the special clothes for Armorer and Jewel Crafter as well, because I did both of those. But in addition to that, I have the 3 max level trophies, and these are some of the hardest things to get in the game. Just the one material to upgrade from the medium to the high level trophy, because you have to have 3 trophies and you have to have them at max level. Just the material to move from the level 2 to the level 3 armor trophies are going for over 40,000 a piece. I have all 3. I had the special food. So I had done every last thing. I had spent hundreds of hours leveling the craft. I have the maximum trophies at a ridiculously insane cost. I had the entire outfit, including the hat that cost, and anyone can tell you, Ark can tell you about the armorer's hat. That hat is like 30 grand, and it's a massive pain. And I had the food. I leveled up my cooking to maximum, and I had the food to do that. I could get between a 190 to 195, 590 to 600 gear score that I could create. Now, there is another buff that you can get, but you can only get it if you're the governor of the town and you put the buff up. That, I feel like if you have done the hundreds of hours to level it, the dozens of hours or more to gather all of the clothing items, the, hours to level up your cooking and to get all that stuff, and all of the trophy things, that puts it in a weird spot where if you still, after doing all of that, cannot get where somebody who has the governor's buffs, like somebody who controls that, does, that to me feels weird. I'm okay with the governor buff having some ability like, oh, okay, you can add an extra 5% or 10% or whatever, but I feel like they need to put in enough abilities for the crafters themselves that do all of the work to be able to get there. If not, if no matter how much work you do, if you're not in the little powerful group, you can't get where they can get. That, as somebody who put in thousands of hours of to get all of the crafters up, that really feels bad.
I would argue that so you spent all the time getting the job up. You spent all the time and resources getting all of the clothes, the food, the trophies, all that. Like, I understand there should be okay, you're X good, so therefore you have this span of gear score of the thing that you can make. If you've done all of the things that you can do as a character and it's up and active and all that, I really think that should be an insta 600. Whatever the highest is for the thing. Like, you've paid your dues. You've done the stuff to the nth degree and you're there. I would argue that the perk you could get put on the town, because it's one of those things that people got to do the town boards for and everything. So I would argue that shouldn't have any play whatsoever to you at that point. But for everybody else who hasn't done it, that buff would be a great help. And if that buff's present, maybe you don't have to eat the special food, or maybe you can scale back on one tick somewhere.
Yeah, like maybe you don't have to have the
Just to
trophy.
even it out.
Yeah.
But it's like, look, I've done all the stuff. I'm literally as good as I can be at this thing. That, I think, should be rewarded better.
What do you think, Ark?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. Like you say, it's so hard to get there. Like I am 4 trophy upgrades and 1 hat away from where you're at. I don't have the money to buy it. I've been farming where the 1 hat drops because again, it's back up. It was at 28K, now it's up to 30. It's over 30 some K that hop. If you're gonna make the end piece of this thing, right? If you're gonna make it still rando, luckiness, then make it so that you're, like they're about to do with the smelter stuff, make it so that your what's it called? Your aptitude boxes for crafters, that's how you get that gear. Not some fool who doesn't craft at all, who just has the time to run and chase chests or sit on a mob all day long. Make it so that you can get, it's not so difficult to get the trophies and the hat and all that other stuff if you're doing all the right crafting stuff. And then make some real rare drop. If you're afraid of everyone just getting the best gear right away, make some real rare drop that's just like the timeless shards, where you can get another perk maybe, or a guaranteed 600 roll. Like that's probably even better. A guaranteed 600. Like if you use this, it's a, whatever, it's just some steroid, because it is just, it's painful. I've made 3 pieces of armor and 2 of them were better for me. They're all 590 something, but I could have rolled a 570. And those materials aren't cheap, and it makes you feel really shitty because it takes forever to get to the point where you can actually even do this stuff. And then like you had these rolls rescind today and you didn't get exactly what you needed. That's just crazy, man. That's they gotta figure that out.
Mm, okay. So I wanted to address that because I just feel that, again, that's another area where it's like one small group has an advantage that. So I'm okay with people having some kind of advantage or whatever based on, hey, they've done this, they've achieved this, they should have a thing. I'm not okay when that pushes it into a place where there's nothing you can do to compete no matter what, no matter how hard. It should, I get having them have something be a little easier. I'm not okay with them having opportunities that no one else has, is basically where I'm coming from with that. All right. So a couple of other things, because I don't want to, whatever. A couple other positive things I've mentioned a whole bunch of stuff briefly, but a couple other positive things that are happening. Number one, they have sort of like lowered some of the tendrils ability that were a little overpowered. They've done some little tweaks here and there to some stuff that was like a little bit off. They have fixed some stuff in dungeons that were a little off. The weapon swapping thing was huge. I can't tell you how huge it is, and can't wait to see that in action.
That was so bad.
Blocking, dodging and blocking. First off, they've recovered they've shortened the recovery time on dodges, so that makes that transition a little bit better. They have changed the way blocking works for bipedal attacking mobs, so that when you get attacked by a skeleton or whatever, and they said they're also going to be in the future making changes to quadrupeds or whatever, to like bears and dogs or whatever. But as it stands now, whenever you're tanking, when you block, and these little guys, especially when you're in Lazarus, for example, and there's like 19 of these little guys all swinging at you at the same time, man, they push you around like crazy, and it makes it very, very hard for tanks to get proper positioning, which then makes it harder on the healers. It's harder on the DPS to properly position, because they're supposed to position on the mob's ass. The mob is supposed to be facing the tank, and if the tank is constantly moving, that adds to the whole soup of what they're trying to do it right. That's gonna be a massive fix and change. If you jump from a low area, you're not gonna have that whole sort of like where you are stuck for a bit. If you jump from a high area, you're going to get that. But if you make a low jump, it's kind of like let you roll and go. They fixed some of the 300 attributes. Specifically, the healers had a really shitty thing for getting 300 focus, where you had to hit exactly 0 mana for it to actually work. The regen rate, I think having the regen rate, it basically doubles your regen. I think that's not enough. I think it should triple or quadruple. It should be by a decent amount, because it doesn't feel, still, even when you get it to go off, it doesn't feel like a massive change. I think maybe they should look at balancing that, like tweaking that a little bit more. But it's still just huge that before the 300 focus attribute was absolutely useless, because you could not ever trigger it, and now you can. So that's good. Tons of bug fixes, tons of changes in weapon balances, and I think sort of the most important one, a microcosm that I'll use, is that they went and made a lot of changes in PTR patch 1, February patch 1, to Gravity Well, and the community was not happy with those changes. And they took a lot of feedback on board and made some different changes in PTR patch 2 that I think the community is sort of much more accepting of, at least not as like massively angry. And I think that that's important. That shows that they're listening to feedback in the PTR, and they are sort of willing to have some play to make some changes. That's always a hard thing as a company. I feel like they have to walk the fine line, because there's sometimes where good changes need to be made that are going to be unpopular, but they're good for the long-term health of the game. And the company has to be willing to stand firm and say, like, no, we've thought this through. This is the right change. But there are definitely other times, and we've seen with this game, where they make a change and the community goes, what the hell are you thinking? And they, listen and go, oh, no, you're right. That was a misstep. We're gonna fix it now. So I think that was sort of really good, and I feel like they're continuing to demonstrate as they go through things that they're listening and willing to take feedback on board and assess whether or not it's right. And it seems like quite often the community is right. And it's not always going to be. Sometimes, like I said, the right choice is going to be the unpopular choice. But right now, it feels really good that they're listening to that. And then a bunch of stuff with the perks got sort of fixed with regard to like stuff with tooltips that were wrong, or just giving you sort of information that didn't seem to add up. And they fixed a bunch of stuff. So, and very important for me, they're adding in the smelting set to aptitude boxes. So I'm super excited. And they've added in a new trade channel, so I guess people can spam that instead of the other channels. And I can't think of, I'm trying to rack my brains for what did I miss? What other sort of changes or whatever? Is there anything?
See, I want to talk about putting the gear in the aptitude boxes.
Go for
so, currently we don't have a smelting set, and it would make sense that, hey, you got to level 200 in the craft, and as you do more, you wrap that thing around, you get the boxes, and you get a chance for getting good stuff. Looking over some of the other boxes I've gotten, it used to be that those items were very expensive, and now the market has rather dropped on them, justifiably so, because there was no supply and huge demand, and now there's supply, and as people have gotten their stuff, demand's gone down. Are they gonna put those sets of things, like the different clothes or whatnot? Hell, it could even be the special food that drops, that gives you the buff to things like that. Are they going to put that into all of the different types of aptitude things? Because that would be really interesting to see what sort of ramifications would happen if they didn't limit it to the different jobs, but like, hey, if I go out and I do this aptitude, I have X chance for getting the high, say, strength food or con food, that kind of thing. I don't think I'm quite on board with that idea, but with the whole you can do your jobs, your crafting jobs better stuff, that makes total sense as a payout from that.
Yeah.
Because it's rewarding your time spent doing it.
So far, and we don't have an official answer to that direct question yet, but so far the assumption that everyone has made is that you will be getting that. So we do know that it's only coming from the tier 3 aptitude boxes. We don't officially know yet if it's only the smelting ones or if it's also, logging and whatever. However, I will point out that I've gotten many aptitude cases since they've introduced that, and so far they all fit the what they're used for. So when I'm doing when I get an aptitude for weaving, I get a bunch of cloth stuff. When I get an aptitude for tanning, I get a bunch of leather stuff. When I get an aptitude for carpentry or logging, whatever, I get a bunch of wood stuff. So I am 99% sure that it's going to be just from smelting aptitude tier 3 chests, but we don't. That is a question that some people have brought up.
The job stuff and then the types of materials and whatnot you get back. I was just thinking that if they were going to open it up, how far would they open it up? And I think that the better call is to open it up to directly match the job being done.
That's what it is now.
Of that job being done.
That's what it is now. You don't get strength food from logging. Yeah. You don't get anything like that. In fact, you get food. What do you call it? You get components of food. You get raw food that you would then cook. You don't get cooked food from even the cooking boxes that I've seen so far. You get what you end up with is ingredients. That's the word I was looking
Oh,
for.
okay. Well, that makes sense because
Yeah.
at least then it's still okay. You're doing cooking. Here's some more stuff to go cook, and it's the more difficult things to go and just chest raid for and stuff like that.
So I've
Yeah,
gone.
absolutely, and that's what I was saying too earlier. Whenever Kai was talking about, just how difficult it was, for example, to get the armorer's hat. Why can't you make that be an app? Like, if it has something to do with armoring, right? And you're doing armoring, and it boops up. Like, why can't you get the armorer's hat or a chance to get it?
Hmm.
Seems like it's something that would like and you can still have it, drop from some boss, but like that gives a crafter. It doesn't make a. I guess I'm always for not forcing somebody to jump out of the way they want to play this game to be able to do the thing that they really want to do. You know what I mean? Like, you really want to craft, you spent all your time into doing it, and now you lock this one thing you need desperately for crafting behind a high-end PvE content piece.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yep. All right. So I've gone around and said, I went off the top of my head, and I may have missed something, but I think I got a pretty good chunk of it. Is there anything that I missed that you're like, oh, I was excited for this or I was excited for that? Either of you?
Not from my end. I mean,
No,
Okay.
we could be missing something, but you know what I
Sure.
mean.
Sure.
I mean there was a long list of stuff in those patch notes. I mean, I remember reading them 3 or 4 times just to get my head wrapped around it because it was like they sat down and I don't know what the hell kind of board meeting, brainstorming session they had, but I'm glad they had it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to find out that everything's gets put in as intended. There's no weird bugs and whatnot. But I'm sure there's going to be something. Hopefully, it's not game
There always
breaking.
will be. There always will be.
Yeah.
All right. So we've covered all of that, and that's week 2 of the PTR changes. There's still one more week of more tweaks and adds and changes, so hopefully we'll see some other stuff, added to it, and we'll let you know about it all next week. In addition to that, we had a bunch of server merges that I talked about at the top of the show. Lots of servers got moved in, so new blood, new people coming in. But I want to take a moment to address, and that's great. It seems like open world PvP has picked up a bit on Pluto, at least. OPR didn't take as long to queue up for. It seems like the channels are hopping, people are recruiting. There's some activity. I want to take a moment though to address sort of the elephant in the room, and that elephant in the room is that Amazon, in addition to all the stuff they've been doing with this game, they released as a publisher a new game this week called Lost Ark. Lost Ark is a Korean MMO. It's a sort of Diablo-like kind of side view, whatever MMO. It's very different than New World in many, many aspects. It has been a very popular game in Korea and in Russia for years. I think the game's like, 7 years old or so. It's been out for a long time, and it's a massive success in those markets that it's been in for years. Nothing at all like New World. I don't think that's in any way direct competition, other than it is a game. It has hype. And so it's competition for content creators and hype and, competition for your time. Just the same way as, a TV show or a book isn't a competition for New World, but it is if you're not playing New World so that you can read a book or watch a show, that it's a competition in that sense. And Lost Ark is a free-to-play game. It is very Asian grindy, very Korean, very pay to win. There's lots and lots of people that have criticized it for being super pay to win. There's like 5 different. There's like silver, which you get currency just in game. There's gold, which is a currency that you can use on their auction house. There's like crystals, which is a currency that you buy, and there's like some kind of special crystal, which is only a buyable courtesy or currency that you cannot earn in game. And it depending on who you ask, some people will say it's pay to win. Other people will say it's pay to convenience. You can make an argument any which way. I'm not shitting on the game. I'm not trying to talk on like bad onto it, but I'm just saying because it costs nothing to play it, and they later get you with microtransactions, and that's how they monetize the game. A massive wall of people have all flooded in to try the new thing. Just the same way that there was 1 million people playing New World the first week. There's, I don't know the number, but just a stupid high number of people playing Lost Ark. And as a result, between A, the fact that that's the new, and B, New World is right now in a sort of, they're not offering you new sexy stuff. There's no new zone. There's no new dungeon. There's no new weapon. There's no new, new mounts, new this, new all the shit that, tends to draw people. They're just like, hey, we're focusing on quality of life issues and fixing things and rebalance. All things that are great for the long-term health of the game, but are less sexy to draw in people to come log in day to day or whatever. I think what we're seeing right now in New World is the player base, the numbers are dropping and dropping and dropping. And I think that will settle once, March or April, when they do release some new big sexy content, whether it's new weapon or new zone or new this or new that. I think you're going to see a lot of people flood back to the game because it's not a subscription game. It's a buy to play game. So it's a situation, subscription games, when the numbers drop, it's like, oh, they're in a death spiral. With a buy to play game like this, I could see New World sometime, this year, sometime in 2022, between now and Christmas. I could see them putting out an expansion saying like, hey, here's 4 new zones, 18 new dungeons, and, a mount or a thing, here's a new class, here's a new something, here's a new whatever. And I could see, and it's $40, and I could see people flooding back into this to try it too. And then saying, oh, all these quality of life changes they made. Oh, I can travel much easier. It's less grindy to do this. I can get into dungeons better. I think they absolutely need to look at the balance issue between the one percenters, the haves and the have-nots. That's a thing they need to look at. I think they absolutely need to completely redo this keys bullshit. The keys, they're loosening it round after round after round, but they need to really loosen that. That's still the biggest sort of grind or gate or whatever, where it's like you only have so many that you can get into each week. But if they make some of these changes or whatever, I really think we're going to see a lot of people come back. But right now, you're not, right now you're seeing a little bit of a lull in New World. And of course, there's always going to be those people that say like, game is dead, oh, it's this, it's that. People just get stupid with whatever. But I honestly feel like right now, if you haven't played, right now is the perfect time. Get in. While there's like a little bit of a lull, while there's a little bit less of a flood of people, while everybody's out playing Lost Ark, hop in on this, level up. You can get caught up right now while everybody's out, and they're making it easier and easier to get caught up with all of these lessening of the restrictions and making it easier to travel and more XP and whatever. The people that play this game that actually enjoy it, like, there's something special here, man. The bones to this are great. And I think now is the perfect time to come in, get caught up, get up to speed, get through your stuff, and then in 3 months, 6 months, whatever, 9 months, when they drop a big expansion and the 1 million people flood back in to like, oh, the masses trample in, you'll be perfectly set up, and you will have been enjoying the quality of life changes and the improvements they're making to the game weekly on this game. You'll be the benefactor of that, and you'll be at the forefront, ready to charge ahead on the new stuff. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'm gonna put this disclaimer out to you. I might get some. I'll have to drop a little hate. Like, if I have subscribed, YouTuber people, to your channel for this game, and now I'm starting to get a whole bunch of your shit that's from Lost Ark, I'm totally gonna unsubscribe from you. So that's been happening to me lately. But on point of this topic, it's the same thing. I don't, dude. I'm not into that game. It's it's not a competitor. It is something new. People are gonna come and go. If they fix the performance thing alone, just the performance issues alone in this
Mm,
game,
mm,
along with what they have coming up, you're gonna see people come back to this because it's different. It's as you mentioned, it's on new bones. It's not some old thing. You know, this game is where it's at. It just has a lot of problems, and we're a society that's not patient anymore.
mm.
We're just not patient. Like I wanted to, I just bought a truck recently, and it was 7 grand cheaper to get a brand new truck built if I'd wait 2.5 months than it would have been for me to get one that had 30,000 miles on it that was 2 years older. People don't want to wait for anything anymore. So, like the moment that this game really starts to find its roots and it has a strong, powerful creator that's going to help it do that, they don't have to. If they have a bad quarter, they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? They'll make it up next quarter. They're gonna fix some of these things, and you can see all these people rush back. And I feel bad for the knuckleheads that were like, oh, here you can have my crafty trophy, or go ahead, I'm never coming back to this. Then 2 weeks later, they're back here grinding out those trophy mats. So I think it's going to be fine.
Mm. Wolf, what do you think?
I think we hit, pretty much all the nails on the head. I mean, yeah, the game's quote unquote in a lull, but like Ark was saying, everybody's been used to sitting at home and not being able to go do a damn thing, and like I can't tell you how much stuff that it's been. Well, I'd rather not go to the store and deal with whatever ass pain and whatnot to deal with people and everything that's going on right now in the world. So I'll just order this and it'll show up tomorrow by a fucking Amazon drone delivery or whatnot. Like, nope. Patience is a virtue, and patience is necessary in life. And it's still a new game, for Christ's sake. Like, there's stuff they got to ring out, and that's what they're doing. And I'm glad they're ringing out these issues before adding in more things, because it's only going to compound the issues that are there and create new ones.
Mm.
I mean, it's a fact of life.
And I honestly feel, as a player of this game, I'm not even being patient. I'm not. I'm literally. It's not like this game is going to get good in a month. This game is good now. I'm just enjoying it.
Yep.
But I do. The one thing where I do have patience is I look at the aspects that I don't enjoy and I say, okay, this is a thing they need to address. I hope they get to it. I'm sure they'll get to it. Whatever. I think, for sure, the biggest issue right now that they need to address is sort of server stability, lag detected, all of these things. You don't want rubber banding. You don't want that lag detected. You don't want those kind of things. And it's not something that happens constantly where it's just like all day, every day, but it is something that happens enough. And it's something that happens more now than on launch. So it's like, something, whether it was increasing the capacity load of how many people could be on in one server at a time, or whether it's something has changed, and they've acknowledged it. They've said, hey, we put together a Tiger team to really focus on server stability issues and lag issues. So they know this is one of the big things that they're working on this month. And they haven't talked about it as of yet, like said, hey, we've done this, we've done that. But they said it at the end of January when they said, hey, this is one of the things they're focusing on this week. They put together an entire month. They put together an entire team just to do that. So it's not like they've suddenly forgotten, or it's not like, oh, well, they don't know that it's an issue. They think everything's fine. They know that it's an issue and they're on it. I fully expect that next week when we hear the whatever, we're going to hear something like, our team has worked on this and here's what we've found, our triggers or problems, and here's what we're doing to fix this, or hey, it's going to take a little longer, but we are on it. However that all plays out, the point that I'm making is it is a thing that they're on. They know it, and they're dealing with it. It's just a matter of now, okay, let's see how all of this plays out. But I'm very much feeling like what we have now is great. The bones of this are great and has great potential. And so what you can do one of two things right now. You can either hop on the new bandwagon and go play Lost Ark if that's what you want to do, or whatever, play a different game, Final Fantasy or this, that, and the other. You can go do whatever and just come back to this later when there's new shiny to attract you. Or you can take advantage of this opportunity. Right now, what you have is the opportunity to get caught up and get get ahead on all the stuff. Also a big change they're making with this, whatever. They're making like crafting of almost all of the crafting skills much, much easier. They're making it a good percentage less. They're just literally saying you used to need, X amount of XP to get to max level. Now you need whatever, 10%, 20%, whatever, less. You just need less to get it done. So you can jump on the bandwagon, and when the new shiny comes out here, you could get in line with everybody else and go like, oh, it's so hard because everybody's here. It's all clogged. I can't get iron. There's never an iron node. There's never a star metal node. There's never a blah node. Or you can right now get that stuff done while there's not crazy ass lines and everything's much easier to get through. And then when the new shows up, you're ready to hit the ground running. You're at the front of the line. You're not having to play catch up. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'm all for it, man.
I think the big fact of the matter is yes, you can do exactly what you were saying and take advantage and doing get aheads and whatnot, because then you'll be set up for later. But I think more importantly is at the end of the day, like, and I think lots of people realize this already, even if it's not at the forefront of their mind. It's a game. It's something you're supposed to do to have fun. If you're not having fun, go play another game.
Fair enough.
And you can always come back to it when it's like, okay, I'm tired of doing that. Let's go see what this one was, because I did have fun with it, and I know there's been some changes and whatnot. Let's go see what that is, and we can apply that across, not just from say New World to Lost Ark, but to any game that you want to play, that kind of thing. And the fact of the matter is this is entertainment. It's supposed to be entertaining. It's not supposed to feel like a second job or an obligation or anything like that. Like, just have fun. I mean, that's what this thing's here for. It's like, game's objectively beautiful. I'll go out and just sit somewhere and watch the sunrise and set, because it does that in this game. And there's spots where it is just objectively gorgeous.
And I think that's the point that I'm making is I am not having any hard time finding the fun in this. Like,
nope, not at all.
It is objectively fun right now. Not to shit on Lost Ark, not to shit on any other game, but like, for example, Lost Ark is basically like a Diablo type. It's that style where it's kind of like a over the top, 2.5D kind of sideways, whatever. That's not my thing. This one where you have to sort of aim your hits, and it's just so, the crafting is so in depth, and the world, you're running around between, going between all these beautiful trees. You can chop down the trees. You can break the rocks. You can interact with stuff. All of this. And I'm super excited by this Giacomo guy, where it's like all of a sudden he's got you doing quests and he's building a house out in the middle of nowhere. And he's talking about like, hey, I want to build houses around in Aeternum, and you could help me and whatever. Like, I would like to someday have a house somewhere out in the world. Like, hey, it's on the road between, Ebonscale and Brightwood, just somewhere out in the mountains or whatever. Like, that's amazing. Like, there's so much to this that I am super, super excited for. And I'm literally at the point where it's like I've leveled up all of the gatherers, crafters, and refiners. I've maxed every weapon. I have all my gear score for everything that I use is at or above 600. But I still have some quests to do, and they're the weapon quests, they're the chain ones, but like, I want to do them. I'm doing every one, not just, oh, okay, these are the weapons I use, like every weapon quest, I've put in more time than I think anybody has in this game and done more stuff than anyone I know. And I'm still having fun with it, just logging in and doing shit day to day, being in this very cool, very immersive world that's got cool lore to it. It's got awesome mechanics. It's got really good and like deep, rich game loops and systems. I'm just having fun still today playing. And
That's honestly a testament to the game design.
yeah.
Because quote unquote, you've done all the things, and you're still here doing more.
Yeah. All right. I want to go around the horn. I feel like I've expressed a lot of ideas and thoughts, and we've had some neat discussions. I want to, though, make sure that we include anything from you guys before we wrap things up for the show. Why don't we start with Ark? What other thoughts, ideas, any points of discussion, any problems, anything you like, anything you don't like that you'd like to say, like, hey, let's get into this.
I think man, it's so funny because the weeks there's so much I wanted to talk about, but I think we nailed a lot of it. I think the biggest thing is I'm okay. I have been. I guess this is the best way for me to cap it off. I have been just excited with every patch note that I've read this month in the not giving you anything new / just fixing problems month than I have been on the new content ones.
Mm.
I'm totally okay with this, and I like the way that they're communicating with us. I like that we're, that when something's brought up, that someone addresses it, and I'm totally okay if they need time to make fixes. And then when this patch hits, if we feel like we've gotten significant changes and fixes, like they promised, and it all works. Every time they tell me that they're gonna spend this month to fix something, I'm gonna totally be okay with that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I'm stoked. Like I said, I mean, I'm excited to get back in Outpost Rush. I'm excited. We haven't. It's been so long before we even were able to do. Think about this. Mutators came, and before Mutators really came, we didn't play a whole lot of content together. Most of us. I mean, other than some side stuff or whatever, some gypsum, whatever. But the Mutators came, and now we really started to get together and experience some end game content. So cheers to more additions to end game content with the new Outpost Rush adjustments and tweaks, and just more time for us all to play together and have fun, playing this game.
Now that I've hit all that from you, I want from you, give me rapid fire. It can be one thing, it could be five things, whatever, but just rapid fire. What would you like to see them work on, change, fix, add, what, remove, what?
Oh, geez. I would like to see them next focus on all of the ability trees and start making more viable combinations. More viable. Take a look at every little thing, starting with the bow and the foot shot thing, and figure out how do I make this usable in some way, shape, or form. That's what
Mm.
I'd like to see. More combos, more people using different weapons, more people having fun, outside of the meta.
Mm. All right. Wolf. Okay,
I'm
same two questions. So starting off with anything that you wanted to talk about this week that we did not get to yet, anything that you're interested in, that you're excited for, that you think is a problem, whatever. And then after that, we'll transition into what you want changed. Go.
No, we covered the first one pretty well. For the second one, I'm stealing your line. I want loadouts. I'm starting to get to the point where I want a fast way to swap between different stuff and having all the things on me and reading, clicking. It's not fun. That's a quality of life issue. You're doing quality of life fixes. Add it to the list. Let's go.
All right. So the things that I want changed, rapid fire. Number one, I want them to address looking at the sort of imbalance between the 1% and everybody else that I talked about earlier. Number two, I want loadouts. I want loadouts. I want loadouts. For the love of God, I want loadouts. Number three, I would like some quality of life improvement with regard to storage of items. I want it to be whatever. Once you get to, say, rank 40, right? Rank 40 with that town, that now that the storage for that storage, that town storage is now available in, whatever, multiple places. It's available anywhere. And that would encourage people like, hey man, I really need to go and run missions for this town or that town because I want to get my rep up so that storage is easier, and or for everyone, whether you've gotten any kind of storage that you can mass access or not, some way that you can just the same way as you can type in a search string at the top and search to see, hey, do I have this item here? Like some way that you could, do I have this item anywhere? Do I own it? Just at the top, like a global search. And then it says, yes, you do have, 40 of this fish. You do have 18 of this ore, but it's in Reekwater, it's in Windsward, it's in Ebonscale, whatever. I really, 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 I cannot say enough, really want them to remove the gating or greatly times 10 lessen the gating with regard to keys. Make keys so much easier to get to. Right now, you've made amazing content in these dungeons and you make it hard to get in there. That's not fun. It's not a good idea. And then the very last thing is you need to put in more PvP modes and or more ways to incentivize open world PvP. You could literally just have in the open world treasure boxes pop up, not at any specific place or time, because then people will just camp it, but just treasure boxes pop up in the world. And when it pops up, everyone in that zone, it pops up on your map and it says like, hey, there's a treasure box here. You can only open it if you're PvP flagged. Or you could put in, arenas, 3v3s, 5v5s, whatever. You could put in a capture the flag mode. You could put in Outpost Rush is doing a lot of work for you. You need to give PvP players, more options. PvE players can go to a dungeon that's flavored this way or dungeon flavored that way or dungeon flavored whatever way. Or they could open world farm or they could whatever. PvP players pretty much have the one mode. So putting in some really cool open world shit and or some other game modes, I think would be good. Since I just throw out a lot of ideas there, I'm going to let you guys comment on that and then we're calling it.
You were thinking the same thing as me when you were talking about inventory stuff, because I was just trying to find some crap for crafting. I could not find it anywhere. No, I agree with all that stuff. I mean, more modes, more PP, more stuff. And here's one I did forget. Try to search some runic thread right now and see how that goes. Nothing seems to drop it. I've tried it everywhere. It's expensive as heck. It's like 2,800 bones a pop. Like, just update your wiki, update your stuff, and if it doesn't exist, or if you've taken like a legendary weapon and it's no longer in the game and now it's been downgraded to something else, get it out of there so that when I go in the one database to like see what I want to farm for my character at endgame, it doesn't end up not being in the game.
How about this for a quality of life issue, kind of to riff off of what you just said? What if, as a quality of life issue, they were to at some point do a major pass where they look at sort of explaining better with in-game tool tips and whatever, what works with what stacks with what, when you say this does extra increased damage, whatever, what does that mean? Give me a percentage and give me a style and let me know this Ren stacks with that Ren, but these two Rens are mutually exclusive, so they can't. This life stealing works with that one, but this one doesn't. Like, do a slightly better job, and it's great already. I'm not shitting on it, but do a slightly better job of explaining in game how abilities work, how skills work, how items work, and just having that cleaned up a little bit. I think that would be a really good pass for them to look to do at some point too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we just talked about this today, trying to figure out like, and if put it in the notes section, please, of our video. But we're trying to figure out what is the max rend that you can put on a boss. Some people say it's 30%, some people say it's 50%. Like, one, make it so I can read it somewhere, and two, maybe give me a little UI ding that helps me as a DPS player know, or the tank know, that, oh yeah, we got the boss maxed out on rend. That would be nice.
Holy shit, I'm seeing is Adonis in the chat. Hi Kai. In Europe we have a little 25k Q Kappa. 25,000 Q Kappa. Is that maybe they're talking about Lost Ark? Because I think that's the thing that's blowing up just at the moment. Probably. If they have a 25k Q for New World right now, holy shit, that's like week one. Like that blows my mind. I don't know.
That's nuts.
Yeah. All right, guys, we love you all. I hope you've enjoyed the show. You know us. We talk openly. We are fans of New World, and we're not going to talk shit on it. This will be a place where you can come every week to hear stuff. We are going to criticize sometimes. We always have, we always will. But by and large, I think as it stands now, all of us are strongly in the camp of lovers of this game. So we'll give ideas and suggestions on how things can improve, and we're not going to be yes men or white knights, but we're also not here to shit on the game. We're here to continue expressing our love for the game and helping to hopefully grow the community and have fun with it, because that's all three of us are having fun with it, right guys?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, we love you crazy bitches. We're out. Have a good night.